Hello everyone, I am Mary Rosadita D. Bote and I will be discussing a short background information on Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs and the role of the United Nations Development Program or UNDP.
The Sustainable Development Goals is also known as Global Goals because it is a universal goal by all countries. The Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs is composed of 17 goals for the development of social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Fundamentally, it is adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, a strategy that aims to alleviate poverty, protect the planet, and attain peace and prosperity by the year 2030. It is also committed to leave no one behind and bring the world to zero. Zero means zero poverty, hunger, and discrimination, particularly to women. And as we talk about SDGs, it is also important to highlight the role of the United Nations Development Program or UNDP as one of the main actors who contributed to implementing these goals. The UNDP is working with 170 countries and territories. It focuses on systems to build solutions as a response to people's daily uncertainties. The UNDP believed in integrated solution and not in isolation because these goals will not be put in reality without partnership. Partnership with private sector, government, civil society, and citizens.
Hello, I am Erica Joyce B. Asidera, and here I am to present to you the United Nations Millennium Development Goals or the MDGs. The Millennium Development Goals. In September 2000, leaders of 189 countries gathered at the United Nations headquarters and signed the historic Millennium Declaration, in which they committed to achieving a set of 8 measurable goals that range from halving extreme poverty and hunger to promoting gender equality and reducing child mortality by the date of 2015. Here are the 8 Millennium Development Goals. 1. Eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. 2. Achieve universal primary education. 3. Promote gender equality and empower women. 4. Reduce child mortality. 5. Improve maternal health. 6. Combating HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases. 7. Ensure environmental sustainability. And 8. Develop a global partnership for development. The MDGs provided a powerful framework for tackling poverty and have galvanized national, regional, and global efforts towards promoting human development. Key MDG achievements. In 1990, more than 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. The number of out-of-school children has dropped by more than half. Child mortality dropped by more than half. And in 2000, HIV/AIDS infections fell by almost 40%. The MDG Fund contributed directly and indirectly to the achievements of the MDGs. It adopted an inclusive and comprehensive approach to the MDGs. The approach was guided by the Millennium Declaration and its emphasis on development as a right, with targeted attention directed towards traditionally marginalized groups such as ethnic minorities, indigenous groups, and women. From the MDGs to Sustainable Development Goals. In 2010, at a high-level meeting of the UNGA to review MDG implementation, governments recognized the need to look ahead and start looking about ways to advance the UN Development Agenda after the MDGs expired in 2015. At the same time, Brazil proposed convening a conference to mark the 20th anniversary of the 1992 Rio Earth Summit and take stock of development. The UNGA adopted Resolution 64/36, which called for the UN Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro in June 2012. The objective of the Rio Plus 20 conference, as it came to be known, was to secure renewed political commitment for sustainable development, assessing the progress to date and the remaining gaps in the implementation of the outcomes of the major summits on sustainable development and addressing new and emerging challenges. The Millennium Declaration and the Millennium Development Goals adopted by the UNGA has come to an end in 2015. Endorsed by the 189 countries, the MDGs have indeed been an unprecedented global effort to achieve 8 measurable development goals that prove that goal setting can lift millions of people out of poverty, empower women and girls, improve health and well-being, and provide vast new opportunities for better lives.
Good day everyone, I'm Sauda B. Abdurasid and I will be discussing about what the world learned setting development goals and responding to development challenges with the MDGs. What the world learned setting development goals. The three pillars of sustainable development are social, economic, and environmental. The MDGs emphasize three areas: the human capital, infrastructure, and human rights, including social, economic, and political, with the intent of increasing living standards. Human capital objectives include nutrition, healthcare, including child mortality, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, reproductive health, and education. Infrastructure objectives include access to safe drinking water, energy, and modern information or communication technology. Increased farm outputs using sustainable practices, transportation, and environment. Human rights objectives include empowering women, reducing violence, increasing political voice, ensuring equal access to public services, and increasing security of property rights. The goals were intended to increase an individual's human capabilities and advance the means to a productive life. To accelerate progress, the G8 finance ministers agreed in June 2005 to provide enough funds to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund or IMF, and the African Development Bank or AFDB to cancel 40 to 55 billion in debt owed by members of the heavily indebted poor countries to allow them to redirect resources to programs for improving health and education and for alleviating poverty. Critics of the MDGs complained of a lack of analysis and justification behind the chosen objectives, and the difficulty or lack of measurements for some goals and uneven progress among others. Although developed countries' aid for achieving the MDGs rose during the challenge period, more than half went for debt relief and much of the remainder going towards natural disaster relief and military aid rather than further development. Over the past 50 years, this expanded vision of development is now translated into measurable goals, targets, and indicators. Responding to development challenges with the Millennium Development Goals. After the Millennium Summit, the UNGA adopted Resolution 55162, which requested the UN Secretary General prepare a roadmap to implement the Millennium Declaration. The United Nations Millennium Declaration consists of the values and principles, peace, security, and disarmament, development and poverty eradication, human rights, democracy, and good governance, protecting the vulnerable, meeting the special needs of Africa, and strengthening the United Nations. The UNDP Administrator Mark Malloch Brown, who developed this roadmap, argued the MDGs melded a human rights-based approach embodied in the UNDP Human Development Report, the World Bank pro-market structural adjustment strategy, and the target-setting mindset of the Development Assistance Committee of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Following the introduction of the MDGs, total official development assistance grew from 71 billion US dollars in 2000 to 124 billion US dollars in 2014. The goals gave the international community something tangible to rally around and signaled what could be done with the set of goals. But the MDGs did not recognize the multidimensional nature of poverty. They did not address factors that contribute to global poverty, including war and political stability, discrimination, and social inequality, vulnerability to natural disasters, absence of rule of law, and corruption. Nor did they address the environment causes of poverty. They did not consider stakeholder input, limited gender equality to access to education for women, referred to a limited number of healthcare issues, and only spoke about the achievement of primary education.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Joshua, and I'll be presenting to you our next topic, which is the global consultation of Sustainable Development Goals.
So moving on, the Rio Plus 20 conferences, or conference, also known as the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, happened in Rio de Janeiro on June 2012, galvanized a process to develop a new set of Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, which also carry on the momentum generated by the MDGs and fit into a global development framework beyond the year of 2015. In the interest of creating a new people-centered development agenda, a global consultation was conducted both online and offline. Civil society organizations, citizens, scientists, academics, and the private sector from around the world were all actively engaged in the process. Activities included thematic and national consultations and the My World survey led by the United Nations Development Group. Also, specialized panels were also held and provide ground to facilitate intergovernmental discussions. Also, the United Nations Secretary General presented a synthesis of the result of these consultation processes. Moving on, in July of 2014, the UN General Assembly Open Working Group, or the OWG, proposed a document containing 17 goals to be put forward for the General Assembly's approval in the September of 2015. This document set the ground for the new SDGs and the Global Development Agenda spanning from the year of 2015 to the year of 2030. So here are the few examples of the Sustainable Development Goals proposed by the OWG. First, the goal number 1 is to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Goal number 2, end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Goal number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Goal number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Goal number 5 is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So that's the few of the many goals of the SDGs proposed by the OWG.
Good day guys, I am Rosan Gonzaga Cabante and I will going to discuss with you the 3 SDG organization and the SDG key governance and management. In Sustainable Development Goals organizations, we have the full transparency and accountability, operational effectiveness, and national ownership. These 3 organizations are critical to ensure sufficient participation of local counterparts in decision-making processes from program creation to implementation and evaluation, to make strategic decisions and produce development results effectively. Strong government leadership, a cohesive UN country team led by the resident coordinator, and the involvement of sponsor governments are essentials. Because the SDG aims to promote peaceful societies at national levels as well as the role of cooperation at the international level. Next, we have the SDG governance and management. First, we have the SDG Fund Steering Committee. It meets at least once a year and offers general guidance and strategic direction with UN agencies, participating and contributing member states, and various SDG Fund stakeholders represented at the highest level. Next, we have the SDG Fund Secretariat. This is a tiny, specialized, and technical team within United Nations Development Program, Bureau of External Relations, and Advocacy will ensure that the steering committee's decisions are implemented and followed up on. Lastly, we have the Multi-Partner Trust Fund. It serves as the administrative agent or AA in charge of concluding memorandums of understanding or MOU with participating UN organizations. The SDG Fund Steering Committee approves grants which it collects, administers, and oversees.
Good day to all. I am Sam Morris and I'll be sharing with you what the world learned setting development goals. What the world learned setting development goals. The Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives of everyone, everywhere in order to live in a true sustainability. But how does one define and achieve sustainability? Well, there are three pillars of sustainable development, and those pillars are social sustainability, economic sustainability, and environmental sustainability. Social sustainability means it ensures that social well-being in every country must or can be maintained in the long term. Economic sustainability, which requires a country to use their resources responsibly to operate in a consistent and suitable manner in a long term. And environmental sustainability, which requires us to consume our natural resources like fuels, materials, water, land, and etc. in a sustainable rate. With the knowledge and lessons gained from the Millennium Development Goals, it has helped greatly in making and improving two new sets of goals, which are the 17 SDGs. The sustainable development has evolved beyond environmental protection, social development, and economic development. With a thunderous stand of innovation on the 25th September on year 2015, all 193 United Nations member states adopted Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for a Suitable Development. In the 2030 Agenda, a new set of goals were established, and those were the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is to be a 15-year plan to achieve the goals. A universal set of irrelated and indivisible goals, targets, and indicators balanced between the three pillars of sustainable development, social, economic, and environmental, that seeks to address the global challenges we face. Addressing the UN Sustainable Development Summit, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, "The agenda you are adopting today embodies the aspirations of people everywhere for lives of peace, security, and dignity for a healthy planet. Let us today pledge to light the path to this transformative vision." The roots of the SDGs can be traced back to the 1972 United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm, Sweden. This marked the first time a UN conference addressed the relationship between humans and their environment. The conference initiated a global reflection about the need to balance environmental conservation and human development, establishing the foundation for the concept of sustainable development. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals represents the 2030 targets, and the goal is to take action regarding the increase in poverty, to help empower women, and address the climate change. That's all from me. Thank you very much.